Level 1. Injustice Superman, Tyrant of the Regime. The first step into Superman's darkest variants begins with Injustice Superman, a version of Clark Kent who loses his moral foundation after the death of Lois Lane and the destruction of Metropolis. In this world, the Joker manipulates Superman into killing Lois, who is carrying their unborn child. The shock fractures Clark's humanity instantly. The hero who once held back every punch now stops holding back at all. In his grief, he kills the Joker on the spot, the moment that becomes the turning point for his entire world. Once that line is crossed, Superman convinces himself that force is the only way to guarantee peace. He forms the regime, a global authoritarian force where he rules through obedience and fear. He eliminates criminals without trial, destroys dissent, and forces other heroes to join his cause or be removed permanently. His heat vision becomes an instrument of execution, and his super hearing becomes a surveillance network used to monitor entire populations. What makes this Superman terrifying isn't just power, it's certainty. He believes he's right, and that belief has no limit. He defeats the Justice League, crushes resistance across the globe, and even forces iconic heroes like Wonder Woman and Cyborg into his new order. He retains all of Clark Kent's intelligence and precision, but now weaponized by grief and a complete loss of restraint. His psychological shift is what defines his threat level. This Superman has no internal boundaries and no willingness to listen. Every act of force becomes justified under the banner of peace. And unlike other dark variants who are corrupted by external forces, this Superman is corrupted by pure emotional loss, which makes him the most human, and therefore one of the most tragic versions of himself. Injustice Superman exemplifies the fear that lies at the core of the character. What happens if the world's greatest protector decides humanity doesn't deserve freedom? The answer is absolute control. A global dictatorship powered by a Kryptonian who no longer believes in choice. This variant sets the foundation for all darker Supermen. He doesn't destroy the universe, he destroys agency, proving that sometimes the scariest Superman is the one who still thinks he's doing the right thing. Level 2. Superboy-Prime, the unstable Kryptonian destroyer. Superboy-Prime is one of the most terrifying Superman variants because he combines near-limitless Kryptonian power with the emotional maturity of a frustrated teenager. He grows up on a peaceful world where superheroes exist only as fiction. When he discovers he's a real Kryptonian, he believes he's destined to become the greatest hero in existence. But reality never matches his expectations. After losing his home and witnessing multiversal disaster, he doesn't cope like Clark Kent would. He lashes out. Every setback becomes someone else's fault. Every disagreement becomes betrayal, and every opponent becomes a target. His anger fuels his power, making him stronger the more unstable he becomes. Prime's punches break dimensional walls. His heat vision cuts through cosmic beings. His durability surpasses most Supermen because he comes from a universe with different physical laws. And when he feels slighted or ignored, his emotional outbursts escalate into catastrophic destruction. What makes him truly frightening is that he never sees himself as a villain. In his mind, he's the only real Superman, and everyone else is ruining the universe he believes should revolve around him. His entitlement mixed with cosmic power turns him into a walking disaster. Superboy-Prime isn't evil. He's unchecked power guided by immature emotion, and in many ways that makes him even more dangerous than a tyrant. Level 3. Ultraman, the tyrant Superman of Earth 3. Ultraman is one of the most terrifying Superman variants because he represents what Kal-El could have become if every instinct he possessed leaned toward domination instead of compassion. Born into the twisted world of Earth 3, a reality where villains are heroes and tyranny is the natural order, Ultraman grows up believing that power isn't a responsibility, it's a weapon. Unlike Superman, who gains strength from yellow sunlight, Ultraman becomes addicted to kryptonite, using it as a stimulant to elevate his power. The more he embraces it, the more unstable and aggressive he becomes. Instead of humility, he develops a sense of entitlement that grows into full authoritarian rule. He leads the crime syndicate, a brutal mirror of the Justice League, controlling his world through fear and violence. Under his rule, cities obey not out of hope, but out of terror. Physically, Ultraman matches or exceeds Superman in raw strength whenever he saturates himself with kryptonite energy. His durability, heat vision, speed, and senses function at the highest Kryptonian levels, but without restraint. He doesn't rescue, he conquers. He doesn't protect, he demands obedience. Every display of power is meant to remind the world that resistance is pointless. What makes Ultraman especially frightening is his worldview. He believes that compassion is weakness, mercy is stupidity, and cooperation is a trap. He cannot understand Superman's values because his reality conditioned him to believe that dominance is the only path to survival. This perspective makes him unpredictable. He will destroy an entire city simply to make a point or eliminate anyone he perceives as competition. Unlike many dark Superman variants who fall due to tragedy or corruption, Ultraman never falls. He starts as a tyrant, grows into a dictator, and ultimately becomes a symbol of how terrifying Superman would be without the influence of Jonathan and Martha Kent. There is no internal conflict, no moral hesitation, no questioning of his own actions. To Ultraman, fear is the natural language of power. Ultraman stands as a chilling reminder that Superman's heroism isn't guaranteed by his abilities. It's defined by his environment and his choices. Strip away those foundations, and the world's greatest protector becomes one of its most unstoppable oppressors. Level 4. Bizarro Superman, the unstable mirror of Kal-El. The next terrifying Superman variant is Bizarro, a distorted copy of Kal-El created through flawed cloning or unstable duplication experiments. Unlike the other dark Supermen who fall into corruption through trauma or ideology, Bizarro is frightening because he is inherently unstable, mentally, physically, and morally. He is Superman in reverse, a broken reflection whose logic and biology function backward. Bizarro's powers are unpredictable versions of Superman's abilities. His freeze vision burns, his heat vision freezes, his breath can ignite instead of extinguish, and his strength fluctuates based on emotional confusion rather than sunlight. This instability makes him dangerous even when he isn't trying to be. He creates destruction accidentally, misunderstands basic commands, and often interprets kindness as threats due to his reversed reasoning. What elevates Bizarro into this list isn't villainy, it's unpredictability. He can tear apart a building while trying to save someone. He can harm people while believing he's helping them. Because he has Superman's immense power but lacks Superman's clarity, every situation becomes a potential disaster. And when Bizarro becomes emotionally overwhelmed or frightened, his power output spikes chaotically, increasing the destruction around him. Despite his tragic nature, Bizarro embodies a terrifying concept, a godlike being with the mind of a confused child. He tries to imitate Superman, but his broken perspective turns acts of heroism into catastrophic misunderstandings. In some realities, Bizarro's loneliness or desire for acceptance leads him to create entire artificial worlds. Bizarre landscapes filled with unstable constructs that collapse under their own contradictions. Bizarro shows what happens when Superman's power loses purpose, direction, and logic. He's not evil, but he is uncontrollable, a living natural disaster shaped like the world's greatest hero. Level 5. Cyborg Superman, the immortal Kryptonian machine of vengeance. Cyborg Superman is one of the most terrifying Superman variants because he combines Kryptonian power with the cold precision of a machine, and a mind consumed by hatred. After surviving a catastrophic accident that destroys his body and everyone he loves, he's rebuilt with advanced cybernetics. The transformation leaves him convinced that Superman is responsible for his suffering, and his grief twists into a single purpose: destroy everything Superman stands for. He retains all Kryptonian abilities under a yellow sun, but his robotic systems make him even more dangerous. He can regenerate from almost any damage, transmit his consciousness through technology, and rebuild himself endlessly. Destroying him doesn't stop him. It only gives him more machines to infect and control. What makes Cyborg Superman truly terrifying is that he feels nothing. No compassion, no hesitation, no emotional conflict. His attacks are calculated with machine efficiency, and his hatred fuels galaxy-level acts of destruction. He isn't unpredictable like Bizarro or emotional like Injustice Superman. He's systematic, a Kryptonian mind fused with an immortal computer. Cyborg Superman represents the nightmare of Superman's powers stripped of all humanity. A being who cannot die, cannot be reasoned with, and will not stop until every trace of Superman's legacy is erased. Level 6. Kingdom Come Superman, the fallen symbol of hope. This version of Superman is terrifying not because he becomes evil, but because he becomes cold, distant, and willing to impose order by force. After witnessing a catastrophic event that wipes out the people he cares about, Kingdom Come, Superman withdraws from the world for years. When he finally returns, he's no longer the optimistic protector humanity once knew. He's a stern, authoritarian figure who believes the world must be controlled before it destroys itself. He forms a new regime of superpowered enforcers and establishes strict rules on how metahumans should behave. Anyone who refuses to comply is imprisoned in massive containment facilities built to restrain even high-level threats. This Superman still believes he's doing the right thing, but he's lost the empathy and personal connection that once made him a hero. His emotional distance turns him into a judge rather than a guide. Physically, this Superman is one of the strongest versions of Kal-El. Years of isolation and exposure to solar energy have pushed his power to near-immortal levels. His strength, speed, and senses operate at heights even the standard Superman rarely reaches. But it's his authority that becomes most frightening. People follow him not out of hope, but out of fear of the consequences. What makes Kingdom Come Superman terrifying is the realism of his transformation. He doesn't snap like Injustice Superman or malfunction like Cyborg Superman. He simply stops believing that people can be trusted to find their own path. He replaces hope with control, compassion with discipline, and freedom with order. He is the version of Superman who still wants peace, but is willing to take away humanity's choices to achieve it. Level 7. Cosmic Armor. Superman, the Thought Robot. At the final and most terrifying tier sits Cosmic Armor Superman, also known as the Thought Robot. A version of Superman built to fight threats that exist beyond reality itself. This isn't a corrupted Kal-El, nor a tyrant like Injustice Superman. This is a being constructed for one purpose: defend the entire multiverse from destruction, no matter the cost. Cosmic Armor. Superman is a self-aware living machine powered by pure narrative logic, a being who understands he is a story and can rewrite that story through will alone. He operates at a scale far beyond Kryptonian limits. He sees the multiverse the way a human sees a page. Concepts, timelines, universes, and higher-dimensional beings all become elements he can interact with physically. What makes him terrifying isn't malice, it's scale. He exists on a level where physics, morality, and time no longer apply. He reacts to threats before they occur, adapts instantly to any attack, and reshapes himself to counter ideas as easily as he could counter punches. He defeats multiversal destroyers not through strength alone, but through overriding the rules of existence. Cosmic Armor. Superman is what happens when Superman's heroism merges with unlimited metaphysical power. There is no force he cannot match, no being he cannot contend with, and no reality he cannot reshape if necessary. He is the literal embodiment of ultimate defense, capable of protecting existence by bending it. And yet his existence raises the most frightening question of all. If a Superman becomes powerful enough to override the entire concept of reality, what stops him if he ever decides the universe needs to change? This version sits alone at the top because he isn't bound by morality, corruption, emotion, or ideology. He is beyond all of it. Cosmic Armor. Superman represents a level of power where Superman stops being a character and becomes a force. Across these 7 levels, each terrifying Superman variant reveals a different way the Man of Steel can become something far more dangerous than a hero. Whether it's Injustice Superman enforcing peace through fear, Superboy-Prime destroying worlds out of emotional instability, Ultraman ruling through dominance, or Cyborg Superman unleashing mechanical annihilation, each version exposes a unique fracture in the idea of Superman himself. And at the top stands Cosmic Armor Superman, a being so powerful he no longer operates inside the limits of reality. Together, these variants show that Superman's greatest strength has never been his power. It's his morality. Remove that foundation, and the most inspiring hero in fiction instantly becomes one of the most terrifying forces imaginable. If you want more deep, accurate, and highly detailed explanations of multiversal characters, alternate versions, and cosmic-scale storylines, make sure to subscribe to Explained Comics. And comment below, which Superman variant do you think is the most frightening, and why? I'll feature the best answers in the next video.